You are listening to a Pod Bros exclusive.
All right, boys and girls, we're live and amped to have this guy back on the show, Mike Stephan, all the way back from episode number 5, Shotgun Mike Media. Mike Stephan, Stephen, what's everybody call you these days? The man?
Yeah, Stephen is how it's pronounced, but yeah, I get a various nicknames on most of the hunts that I go on, so it's pretty spread out.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I'm excited to have you back on the show. To think that we're doing episode 99 today, and you were on episode 5. So how cool is that?
That's pretty incredible, man. I mean, to just start this for, pretty much from nothing, and now you're on episode 99. I mean, that's awesome. I know podcasts are getting pretty big these days. There's a lot more people doing them, and I know you started it before a lot of other people were doing it, so you kind of plowed the way for everybody else.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, kind of neat to think. And yeah, there's quite a few I don't want to call them bandwagoners, but there's a lot of people doing podcasts now, so we'll see what comes of it. But I think the more the merrier. The more info you have, everybody can bring something new to the table. I think it's exciting, and I think it shows that podcasting as a source of media is growing, and that it is a legitimate media source nowadays. So
yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
So, man, excited to have you back, and if you would, Mike, just give me listeners that maybe didn't listen to episode 5, give us a little rundown of yourself, or your company, Shotgun Mike Media.
Yeah, so basically I started Shotgun Mike Media back in 2011, and just like anybody else that tries to get into the industry as far as filming hunts and stuff, I had made a couple contacts with some people when I was working at Cabela's in Kansas City, and basically just kind of dove headfirst into the world of filming hunts. Went to, Campbell Cameras video school, learned quite a bit of information there, and, met some cool people while I was there too. And then, just started buying equipment and just making contacts and basically networking a lot, and, eventually got some jobs. And pretty much every year since then, I've grown my network of friends and people in the industry, and have been able to work for some pretty big names. And seems like every year I get a lot more people interested in using my services. So basically, the majority of the work I do is freelance videography for hunting television shows. I do a little bit of editing work as well, but not as much as the video work. And then obviously video and photography kind of go hand in hand in this day and age. So you kind of gotta do both. But that's a pretty basic rundown of where I started and how I started and where I'm at now.
That is a super cool story about yourself. And since 2011, Mike, how much have you noticed, from the first camera you got? I probably worked with you when you had your first one. Maybe it was your second. But how much have you noticed on that side of things that your gear has changed? Because I probably started filming hunts years before that, and it seemed like there was 5-6 years where it just stayed the same. And then right about 2011, like the whole world of filming hunts sort of changed. It became a lot more hunter-friendly, user-friendly. And since then, it seems like every year these cameras are getting better and better.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how the technology has changed just in the short amount of time that I've been doing it. And I think the biggest leap was when people started using digital media versus, recording the tapes. And that made it a lot easier for pretty much anybody to just pick up a camera. And as long as it was like, HD, you were, creating at least semi-professional looking content for people to watch. And it's jumped dramatically. Everybody has jumped into the DSLR world, which gives your footage a little bit different look, shallower depth of field and all that. But it's changed dramatically, and it seems to be changing pretty fast. Even now, cameras are constantly changing frame rates and being able to do high speed, and it's incredible to see. And it seems like there's a lot more people picking up some pretty nice cameras these days.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, 5-6 years ago, we were recording with tapes, like you said, and now guys are having to upgrade to 4K cameras. So it's just super insane and how crazy that these cameras have gotten in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, the jump from 1080 to regular HD at 1080 to 4K has been a huge deal over the past couple of years. And I mean, I know most of the outlets that you're looking at utilizing via, online or TV, your 1080, your regular HD is about the highest level most of that stuff's going to be broadcast at. But being able to record in 4K and have that ability to downsample the footage from 4K to HD is going to give you a better image. And obviously, kind of with some of the TVs that are coming out now that have 4K abilities, it's obviously the natural progression right now is that eventually, they'll be broadcasting things on TV in 4K.
So I know, Mike, you've been doing this forever now. You've been doing it with some of the biggest names in the industry. What is, the beginner's guide to, say I just woke up today and I'm like, man, I really want to start filming my hunts. Like, what do we do and what are we looking for? Like, am I wanting a handy cam? Do I want to dive into a DSLR? Like, where do we even start? And, what are some of the things we should look for as far as gear goes? Let's start with gear first.
As far as gear goes, yeah, I mean, it really depends on how, what you want to accomplish in the beginning. If you're looking to, start your own online show, or if you're wanting to go straight into a television show, as far as gear goes, there's endless possibilities, but I would definitely recommend at least picking up a pretty nice DSLR. Seems to be a pretty universal camera as far as being able to capture quality video and, be able to capture stills as well. And then obviously once you start wanting to make that larger investment and maybe doing a TV show or something like that, some of your higher end cameras are going to give you the ability to, reach out there a little farther for some of your shots and, high speed abilities to shoot in slow motion. And, basically your handy cams work well, for a lot of situations, but if you're trying to, pull off that real cinematic look and everything, the DSLRs and the higher end cameras are going to definitely accomplish that better.
Now, when guys are looking at a DSLR, Mike, are we looking at, a Canon versus Nikon, or are we looking Canon versus Sony? What is to look for, and what is the basic, lens that we should be looking at as far as those cameras go?
Yeah, I mean, Canon, Nikon, Sony, you're going to get an incredible image out of any of them. Each one has a little bit different format. They're the colors are going to be a little different in each one. You're going to have different abilities with each brand. I started with Canon, and I've never worked with Nikon, but I mean, Nikon definitely produces a great image. And recently I've upgraded into a Sony A7R II, which I just really like because of the video 4K internal recording capabilities and the higher megapixel rate for taking still images as well. But yeah, I mean, I started with Canon, and Canon produces an incredibly great image. It's pretty hard to beat. But moving over to the Sony and just testing it out, and I really like it a lot right now. I'm using my Canon glass on it, Canon lenses, so you're still getting a really nice image out of the sensor and through the lens. I would say to start off, a very a lens that you could use that can be utilized in a lot of different situations is obviously the Canon 24-105 lens. It has image stabilization already built into it, so it's nice for doing some of that handheld work. The image that comes out of it's pretty good, but you can get better out of some of the other lenses. But a good all-around lens is definitely that 24-105. And then if you're looking at wanting to, get something that's a little more telescoping, that the Canon 70-200, preferably the f2.8, which gives you the shallower depth of field. And it's just the lens, that lens, the glass is higher end, and the image is pretty incredible that comes out of that. So it depends also on the kind of hunting that you're going to be doing. If you're going to be doing a lot of bow hunting type stuff out of tree stand or spot and stock, you're typically not going to have to do a lot of reach out and touch the animals. They're not that far away. But if you're filming rifle hunts, you're talking about animals that are 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 800, 1,000 yards away, depending on how good your hunter is. But then you're going to talk about having to find some lenses that are going to reach out there a little farther, or these days there's also adapters for your DSLR to attach to a spotting scope. So that's another option there when it comes to rifle hunting. But yeah, I mean, as far as brand and lenses that you want to use, it's all kind of just depends on what you like and what look you're going for. Each one's going to give a little bit different look, but there isn't one that's significantly better than any of the others. So it's all about preference and what you want, and get out there and play with a couple cameras and see what works best for you in your situation.
Now, I know personally that's a big draw to me is the DSLRs. I just like them. I like the fact that you can change so many lenses. You can also do video and stills. So if we're looking at a camera like a DSLR that we, let's say, want to do some stills with, what is the starting point of what you consider like professional? Am I looking for a camera that is like 5 megapixels, 8 megapixels? Like where is that range from 5 to 20 we need to be at?
Every application is going to be a little bit different. The lower megapixels you have, the better that camera is typically going to do in low light situations, which us hunters tend to find ourselves in. But then the higher megapixel camera you have, you're going to be able to obviously, when taking stills, especially, you can blow those images up a lot larger than the lower megapixels and not lose the quality. So if you're taking images that are going to be used in a show booth somewhere, SHOT Show, ATA, or that kind of application, obviously the higher megapixel is going to give you a much better image when you blow it up in those situations. I'd say over 10 megapixels is definitely better. The lower anything lower than 10 seems to be a little on the lower end as far as the quality of image that you get. And then, I mean, these days, you know, the Sony A7R2 is 42 megapixels, I think, and then Canon has the 5DSR, which is like 51 megapixels, and I mean, it just seems to be going up from there. So as long as these camera companies can you know, have those higher megapixels and still do semi good in low light, it's pretty incredible to see what some of these camera companies are coming out with. So it just really completely depends on your situation and what you're going to be using the camera for. You know, that's the reason I went with the Sony A7R2 with the higher megapixels versus like the A7S was just because I felt like I was going to be utilizing it for photography as well as video, and being able to do those images that you could potentially blow up is definitely an advantage for me.
Yeah, that is for sure. Now, I know that I'm just thinking as the average, you know, whitetail bow hunter, Mike. So what is, you know, the benefit, let's say if we wanted to run out and get like a Canon Handycam. Like I see the jury's filming a lot with, I forget the model number, but it's a Canon. It basically looks like a Handycam. I know it's a little more expensive than, you know, what you would buy at the local store, but I mean, it's basically very nice and compact, and it takes amazing footage. So what is the benefit, and what are some of the changes or tech stuff we would have to do with a camera like that?
Yeah, I think if that's going to be like your main camera that you capture most of the hunt with, the thing that you're going to need to look at for sure is like audio. Some of the audio on some of those cameras can be good, but to capture really, really incredible audio of you know, a deer walking through the woods and you hearing the leaves under their hooves and that kind of stuff, or, you know, just like the ambient sounds, the birds, the squirrels, that kind of stuff that you're trying to capture as well, is going to be better with a higher end audio situation. And that's what you're going to get with some of the higher end cameras. Is obviously they have XLR inputs to you know, run external shotgun mics and stuff like that, which is going to give you that better audio. But as far as like the image quality and all that, you know, the littler HD cameras, the Handycams and such, Sony or Canon or whatever, you know, they're really, really great for, you know, having that secondary angle on a kill or on the hunt or whatever you're trying to accomplish. And like you said, they're super compact and lightweight, so it's easy to carry around, and you can do a lot with them. So it's definitely not a bad thing to have one of those in your pack.
Now, when guys are, you know, let's say we got a camera picked out, we buy one, we're doing some YouTube, what are we talking about tech-wise, Mike, when we hear stuff like gain or aperture or, you know, megapixels and ND filters? Like what do those things mean to us as, you know, average Joe Schmo?
Yeah, so I mean, like with your aperture, let's start off with aperture. You know, it's your f-stop aperture. It's named a couple different things, but basically what you're looking at is being able to capture the most amount of light that you can. And the lower the number on your aperture is, the greater light transmission there is. So you're going to be able to pull in a lot more light. And obviously in those low light situations, that helps out a lot. So having that lower, you know, f2.8 or lower is going to be a lot better for the lenses that you're looking at for low light situations. And it's also, the lower f-stop's also going to give you a shallower depth of field. So if that's the look that you're going for, then you're definitely going to want you know, that lower f-stop. And then, you know, there's all kinds of different things you have to look at it on this cameras, you know, like you were saying, gain or ISO, which is, they're very similar. You know, most of the DSLRs use the term ISO, and some of the, you know, the cameras, the regular video cameras use gain, but basically that's just, to not get too technical, it's about bumping up your ISO or bumping up your gain to capture more light. So when you're at least from what I have learned over the past few years, on a regular video camera, you're using gain. You don't ever really want to go over probably -12 or plus 12 gain, because you're going to start getting a really, really grainy image, and it's not going to be very aesthetically pleasing to the viewer. And then with ISO, it just completely depends on each camera. Most of the time you don't want to go over probably 1600 or 2500 ISO. And then, with ND filters, obviously some of these cameras now have these ND filters built in, which is really, really great for when you're in highlight situations when the sun's beating down, and you gotta obviously adjust your exposure to fit the situation. And having those built-in NDs is really fast and handy for you to just flip them on or off, depending on how bright it is outside. With the DSLRs, if you're wanting to use an ND filter, it's got to be something that you screw on to the end of your lens. Most of the people use, a circular ND filter that you can actually change the stop range on it. And some of them, each one's different, but you'll be able to adjust your ND while it's on the camera. But yeah, I mean, those are kind of the basic settings. Most of the stuff that you're going to film for broadcasting on television, you're going to shoot in 30p, which is 30 frames per second, and that's the typical broadcast standard. And the cameras typically have the ability to shoot, 24, 30, 60, and then some of your higher end bigger video cameras can shoot 120 or 240 frames per second. And as far as shutter speed goes, the typical settings that you want to have your shutter speed at is double what your frame rate is. So if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to at least be 60. And that's just going to give you a better look. It's going to give you, it's not going to give you as much motion blur in the footage if you're at least shooting your shutter speed double what your frame rate is.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That is exactly kind of what when me and you had talked about this podcast, what I wanted to get out is a guideline for guys just starting out and get to know some of these terms, get to know some of these products. And you just said a lot of good stuff, Mike. I'll probably have to listen to this 2 or 3 times to capture it all.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could give you that information. It's constantly changing in this world as far as tech stuff goes. There never seems to be one camera that can do everything that you want it to do. So you're definitely going to be limited in whatever option you decide to go. But each one's going to be a little bit different and going to give you a different look. And maybe you go out and you get a couple different cameras that together make a great team of cameras to produce the look that you're going for.
Yeah, that is definitely the truth. There has not been one camera that's been the go-all savior yet, in the world of filming, at least not what I've seen, and you just, verified that. But so, Mike, your busy season, I assume, is about to come up. What is your, the hunting industry, it's about to take off like a bandit. So what do you got going in the next couple months? Anything exciting?
So right now, at the end of this week, I'm going to be taking off for Wyoming for an antelope hunt. I'll be on the antelope hunt for probably 4 or 5 days. And then I'm actually going to meet up with a buddy of mine out there in Laramie, Wyoming, who guides moose hunts. I'm going to follow him around as he scouts for moose, and I'm just going to capture some really cool moose footage. and then could potentially end up going on an elk hunt with my cousin, like the first week of September. And then after that, whitetail season opens here in Kansas on the 12th, which is way early compared to what it's been in recent years. So I might be doing some whitetail filming there, and then I think doing some filming in Oregon for an elk hunt right after that. So that's kind of what's coming up right in the near future of my schedule. But obviously, the way things go in this industry, they can change pretty quick, and my schedule can fill up. So it just kind of depends on how everything works out.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, and I'm sure it changes, as fast as you blink sometimes, which isn't always fun, but it's an exciting lifestyle none the least.
Yep.
Well, thanks, man. I'm super excited you got back on the show today and made some time for us. Where can everybody reach out or look at some of your footage, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to www.shotgunmike.com. That's my website, and it's spelled SHOTGUN, so just like regular shotgun, and then MIK. And basically that's a play on words. Shotgun Mike is a microphone that you use during filming, and so I took the C and made it a K and kind of made it a play on words there for my name. And then also just look up Shotgun Mike on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on all those platforms, so you can see I post pretty regularly through Instagram and everything as far as seeing where I'm at and what I'm doing.
Absolutely, man. And again, thanks for making time for us, Mike. And I'll make sure to include that stuff in the show notes. And boys and girls, you can find us live every Tuesday on iTunes, Outdoor Podcast channel, podbros.com. And Mike, anytime you want to be back on the show, man, just let me know. Thanks again.
Yeah, sounds great.
And we'll see you guys next week.